Sarah, okay, as soon as Zara starting her presentation, it would be a good idea to mute your microphone.
Of course.
Zara, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, guys, we on air, but we haven't started yet. Okay, guys, everybody who is watching us tonight or tomorrow, no? Okay. Okay, so I hid myself, so I'll start it again. So because I didn't switch something. Oh, okay, Amel is coming back. Great. Hopefully we can hear you. So I'm just trying to say, okay, we are starting our webinar tonight, or it's in the morning. Depends on where you are now. Hopefully more people will come down. And as you know, we're doing it in Hangouts. And as you know, Hangouts allowed up to 10 people inside. Okay, one is speaker. Zara, do something so people can see. Yeah, okay. Or say something.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Okay, so we have two guests. Well, it's not exactly public because they are regulars, and Amel is professional, and she's done a webinar with us. Somebody who's been here regular remember that, and people who are watching us online, if you have a questions, and if you want to be closer to everything what is happening tonight, you can be inside. We still have some seats, but you have to write down in the comments or better send email to me. I'll send you a link and we'll get you in. It's much more fun inside, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Can you hear me now?
No, we can hear you now. Yay.
Great. Hi, Zara. Hi, Dijon.
Hello.
Okay, so far I haven't got more requests to join us in here. So I still wanna even it's already time, still wanna get people tend to be late. Okay, Zara, before we start, I ask everybody to send me some information about themselves, and you basically send me your writer, and that's it. Was it? So I start investigating, and I find you basically everything. Okay.
I know. I've been writing all my life. I have, and I worked in advertising and public relations, and also I was a poet in the school. So I went into the schools, sort of dropped out of the sky and came in and worked with children of all ages, and eventually ended up teaching at university about writing poetry. So I've been writing all my life. The last couple of years, I've really been focusing on writing for the web and teaching people about that, and also writing for other people. And I've been doing this for a few years, help people whose English is their second, third, or fourth language, but they're writing in English to be on the web, and I help them achieve maximum readability in English, so their communication is clear. I started that. I was writing some screenplays, and I have a friend who's a director and writer, and so I was helping him. He's French, and so I was helping him with the English in his script proposals. That's kind of how I started doing that.
Oh yeah, Amelia obviously speaks French because she's from Montreal. Yeah, okay.
Really?
Okay.
So yeah, I do a lot of things, and But you know, today's focus was really on writing for the web, so I wanted to stay focused on that.
Okay, guys, I think we waited enough. Anyone who is late, well, they miss it. It's up to them. Okay, I'm gonna mute my microphone, and that's gonna be all yours. Actually, well, before we start, one more remark. We had this long communication test with Zara, which was, I think, as interesting as any webinar.
That was a fun conversation. It was.
As any webinar, but Sarah did manage one thing right. So let's see if she managed to do it. Okay, Sarah, it's all yours.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Let me share my screen here. There we go. Okay. So today we're going to talk about writing for semantic search. And I've been very intently focused on this for the last couple of years. Actually, my last presentation that I did was 2 years ago, talking about this and talking about keywords. So semantic search, as you all know, changes all the time. And so we're going to talk about, there have been so many changes lately that I had to change my slide presentation a couple of times just since I started creating it. And this morning, John Mueller announced that HTTPS is going to be searched by default. So that's today's news. So let's start talking about writing. So I love this. This could be it for the presentation as far as I'm concerned. Before, you just had to write about something. Now you have to say something useful. And that's from Richard Hussey. And I really love this. I just love this because the old concept of writing was to produce as much content as possible and just fill up your website with stuff. And that is just not true anymore. It's really the reverse of that. So so let's think about what are your goals when you're writing for the web, and the first goal is you want to drive people to your website. And I'm going to have some examples later about doing organic search. And importantly, you want to answer a question, and a question that a visitor has that you provide the answer to for your service or business. That is so important. It all starts with somebody's query, and you want to be the business that has the best and the clearest answer. And in that way, you actually solve a problem. That person is looking for a specific answer, and you've got it. And of course, as far as you're concerned about your business, you want people to take action and communicate with you. So I think it's really important to think of what you're writing on the web as a conversation. And when you're writing, it's like you're one half of the dialogue and you're inviting people in to the conversation. I kind of think of it as standing in line at the store or the movies or wherever you go, and you turn around and you start talking to someone, and that's the kind of feeling you want to have when you're writing for the web. I hope that makes sense. And then, okay, there we go. So Jason Darrell, this is a quote from Jason Darrell, who's just a fabulous, fabulous writer and helps so many people online think about writing for the web. Anyway, Jason says, writing for SEO is dead and buried. So, however, editing for visibility, authority, and discoverability is not. Write for humans, edit for search engines, and you won't go far wrong. And I don't think I really need to say more about that. So what is semantic search? Okay, I want everybody to know that I am not technical. I don't design websites. I'm a writer. So we're just going to quickly go through so everybody, we're all on the same page about what semantic search is. So semantic actually means relating to meaning in language or logic. And so whenever we're writing for meaning. So which goes back to our very first slide about not writing for something, but writing to be useful. So we want to be useful and we want to have meaning in our writing. And then semantic search is what the algorithms do to provide answers for those queries. So it's an advanced data searching technique, and when someone asks a question, it targets to determine the contextual meaning of the search words. So your words that you use are really important when you're providing your answers. And so what search does is look at the intent of the searcher rather than focusing on just keywords. I hope that's clear to everybody. So, and then we have the 5 steps of Google semantic search, and you see that they're all interrelated, and that is so true. There's the knowledge graph. The fact extraction is what that person doing the query, what they want to know. The web questions are their questions, and they're looking for a trusted human to answer that question and to solve their problems. So just a quick look at algorithms for meaning. Penguin looks at spam and link bombing. Panda algorithm looks for quality and what you put out. Hummingbird wants to understand long, wordy questions, those questions that people ask, that are longer than, say, a keyword. And then now we have RankBrain, which interprets languages and interprets meanings. And that's going to become more and more significant in the next few years as far as looking for what is inside of your content and what the meaning of your content is. In other words, what you have to say. Okay, what is that query? The query that somebody puts in, and especially now with mobile, they're doing it by voice. You want to connect the dots, and they want to find meaning in your text. So when the search engines go out to answer somebody's question, they're looking for the meaning in your text that most clearly answers that person's question. Okay, so let's talk about theory and what it is. So writing for machines is over. I can't stress that enough. Writing for machines is over. We're writing for people, and we're using natural language. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about language a little bit later. I just want everybody to be clear about that we're all on the same page about, what is semantic search and what is a query. All right. So search has changed, and so the way that we produce content has changed, and the strategy for your content has changed. So here are some key things that you need to think about when you're writing. You want to use natural language. It's language that you would use like we are talking here, or you're talking to your friends. You want to answer a question. So answering a question takes a higher priority than talking about yourself or your business. You also want to think in concepts, not keywords. So when you're thinking about producing content, you want to think about one key concept that is answering a question. And so it's not about how much content, but about the quality of your content. You want to have meaning in your text, and you want to connect the dots of your content as far as answering questions. I wanted to give an example right here. Several months ago, I wrote for someone who had a new business. I went through all the steps I'm going to talk about in a couple of minutes, and we did that. And at the same time, his sister-in-law was, quote, in marketing, and she decided that he needed lots of content on his website. And so what happened is they actually went and copied and pasted information and photos, images from competitors' websites and put them on their website so they would have, quote, more content. Do not do that. Do not do that, because the search engines will penalize you for doing that. I just was an example of just doing it backwards. Okay. So what is semantic writing? It's relationships among concepts, and the concepts are in each article, each blog page, each about us, whatever it is that you're writing for the web. So everything you say is connected to the identity and the character of your business. So consistency across every place that you are on the web is very important. And I just wanted to do a footnote on this slide. I had David Amerland kindly reviewed this presentation, and this was the one slide he had a comment about, and he wanted to make sure that everything you say connected to your identity was that you don't put out lots of content just to put out content, that you're really aware of whatever your business is. I don't care if it's creating websites for other people, or if it is clearing drains when they get plugged. It always the same is everything that you say. So let's put out, like I put out music. I have crazy comments, but that's all part of how people perceive me. So I just want to make that clear, that your character comes across, and it's very important to establish trust in your business, is how people perceive your character. Okay, so key concepts are the things that make your writing strong. So it's not keywords anymore, it's your concepts, it's what you're talking about. So it's the thought, the text, and the relevancy. So what you want to do is answer a question. In other words, know your customers and what they want, and you want to preempt that query. When they're searching for, their drain is clogged and they want someone to come and clean their drain right away so your kitchen doesn't flood or whatever it is, you want to be the person that answers that question, right? And you want to lead them toward a goal, so that it's back to conversation. It's like having a shared understanding. You are clear enough so that whoever has that question has their question answered. That is really the ultimate goal. And as I said before, you are initiating the dialogue. Just think of it as a friendly conversation. So you want to be a piece of the puzzle your customer is searching for. When they ask a question, you want to be the one that has the right answer. So the goal is content writing that connects the dots. You have provided the answers. You have provided the answers. I hope this is all making sense to people. So here we go. So here we are. Here's your site visitor. Somebody actually gets to your site. What they want is they want you to solve a problem. It may be just as simple as answering a question. They want to discover new ways of thinking about what your service or product is, and they want to have your help. They want someone to help them, so they want a collaboration. So what your content is going to do is get their attention. It's going to get their attention by solving that problem, answering that query that they had, and it is the first place to enter a win-win relationship with your site visitors. And think of every page as your landing page. I think this is really important because sometimes people think that, oh, my home page is where everybody goes, but that's not always true. So think of every page as a place to have a dialogue with your customers, and that includes maybe you have a hardware and you have 3 different, I'm just pulling this out of the air, 3 different types of hammers. Even in your product description of your hammers, you want to be solving a problem. How is this hammer different than the 2 others that you have? You want to be that specific. So you really want to resonate with your reader. Okay, here we go. So I just want to go back and say everything that you do is interconnected. So your website, your blog, everything that you say on social media, and that includes videos that you might have on YouTube or that are on your website, they're all interconnected and they all go together to form a picture, both for people who visit your site or see your or read your blog or see a comment on social media. They all form a picture of your personal character and what you're all about, your entity, as it were. So everything is your digital footprint. So everything that you say on the web, your website, social media, blog, that is your digital footprint. That is your identity. That is what reveals the character of your business on the web. So, and it's relevance above ranking. When we looked at the old SEO, we were looking at, keywords and ranking, and now it's about not how many people come to your website, but how many people how can I say this? How many people actually have a question answered on your website? How relevant is what you have to say? How relevant is that to what their needs are? So you need to totally retrain your brain so you don't get stuck up in the air and not be relevant to the questions people have about your business. So, and then Peter Hatherley, who's in New Zealand, says Google isn't going to openly tell you what the relevant ingredients are in your particular niche, nor is anyone else. They've just leveled the playing field for everybody. Now you need to search out that relevancy for yourself, especially if you want to produce higher quality content than your competitors. So I think I'm going to sound very repetitive in this presentation, but it is all about you and how you distinguish yourself from all the other people who clean drains or all the other hardware stores or all the other restaurants. Whatever your business is, what is it that is unique about you? And then we have quantum search. So quantum search is going to be looking at things in a new way. This is even farther away from keywords and into concepts and into the meaning that you have on your website. It's semantic search is going to become faster and more accurate, and we're heading toward predictive search and intent. So it's your site visitors' intent, what they want, and quantum computing is going to help find the places that have the answers for the intent of your site visitor. And it's really all about getting discovered. So let's take a look at this. So how can you take advantage of Search Now and what's going to be happening when quantum computing comes and it's even faster, 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 and deeper, deeper, deeper? So have information on your website that is practical, accessible, and rich in detail, and maintain an active presence across all social networks that creates a consistent, persistent breadcrumb trail leading to your website. Use social networks to build and maintain your reputation, because sentiment mining, I just mentioned a minute ago, sentiment mining is going to play an increasing role. And use the online world with the same care and attention to detail you use offline. So just kind of shortcutting with all that. You want to be practical, and you want to be rich in detail, and you want to differentiate yourself. Okay. Oops, here we go. So above all, you want to be user-friendly. When somebody gets to your website, your blog, your post on social media, you want to be in that place when you're starting that conversation. You want to answer a question. You want to use natural language, and you want to structure from concept introduction through the details. And that is what makes it user-friendly to your site visitors. And then you want to also be search friendly. So there's always two parts to your content. One is the people who are looking for answers and coming to visit your website, and the other is search. So here's what Google Webmaster guidelines say: make pages primarily for users, not for search engines. So I think we're getting a consistent message here. Okay, so now I want to just go through some steps about how do you actually do this? How do you actually write semantically? All right. So low and slow way to go. For search optimization, you want to be clear. So this is from David Amerlin's book, Google Semantic Search. And I always have these questions whenever I start writing something new, whether it's a web page for myself or a web page for somebody else, or an article or a blog. You want to answer at least one of these questions. Does it answer a specific question the reader may have? Does it create a challenge for the reader? Will it feel them feeling enriched? Is this content that helps establish your company's authority? And is it going to help generate greater equity for your brand? You're all being so quiet. Okay. So we're going to talk about key concepts as opposed to keywords. So you want to...
Actually, we do have some questions. But I just don't want to push you. I'm pasting them on the right side. So if you just from time to time have a look, and if you want to answer straightforward, go ahead. If not, just leave it at the end.
Yeah, we'll save them till the end.
Okay, great.
All right. So you want to have one keyword, topic, theme per article. So don't mix things up and try to jam everything that you do, every every product that you have, you want to be single concept in what you write. You want to do your keyword research, and for writing, you want to have a collection of words about your single topic. So here's some tools that can help you with actually finding the words that you want. So we have you have your main concept idea and your keywords. You can also look at a thesaurus to find words that are similar to that. Online, you can also do a hashtag search, which will come up with other hashtags of other words that are related. And also there is an algorithm called SIZE, which is Conceptual Intelligent Search Engine, which is directly targeted at helping you build word banks, developing a list of all those companion words. And it's starting to sound complicated, so I want to make sure that you keep it simple, and don't forget it's conversational and you're talking to that other person. So here we go. All right, so here you found your concept. So now you have your title or headline. You want it to be clear, you want it to be relevant to the topic, you want to include your focused keyword or phrase, and you want to keep your title short. And this is the first heading for your page. And you only have one per page. Don't do your subheadings as heading ones. And then your headings, you want to be clear, relevant to the topic, set off the next section, keep them short, easy to skim, so when people come to that page, they get the idea from reading just the header, so they can skim through and see what the entire article blog is about. And also that they can skim through to see if you're really answering the question that they asked. And also that you have a descending order of importance. So you're going to start with the most important topic. Then the sentences that you use are clear and short. You want to avoid heavy vocabulary or industry jargon. You want, once again, easy to skim the logic and allow your reader to quickly read. And paragraphs, so you want to keep them clear and short and avoid long, complicated sentences, heavy syntax, advanced rhetoric. This isn't the place to do it. You just want to be clear and short, okay? Paragraphs, you're going to break up the page so each paragraph has maybe 3 sentences, and then it's time for a new paragraph. And make sure that you have your main point in the first sentence, and keep them short, 180 to 210 characters, including spaces, per paragraph. And remember that for general consumption, it's the 6th grade reading level, so that's like 11 or 12-year-olds. I know, but that's it. That's how it works. This, I think, is really important and something that a lot of people skip over when they talk about creating content, and that is the actual sequence on the page. So first you want to have your topic or overview. You're going to tell people what you're going to tell them and make it clear and focused. And then you're going to tell them the best parts about your business. So you want to have romance, but not bombast. And what I mean by that is you want to praise whatever it is, but don't go overboard. All right. So pertinent, and then you want pertinent details. Then now you've given them the clear overview. Now you want to fill in the details. This is what actually happens. And of course you want to focus on the benefits, how it's going to benefit anyone who comes to visit your website. Then you want to highlight any special features, and then any additional features that they may have that they may want to know about and then at the bottom, at the end, you want to have a summary with a little more romance, just, poke the benefits for your site visitor, and of course a call to action, come visit me, and here's how. So, and then there's, it's important about the tone as well. You want it conversational. You want to avoid promotional text and hype. And also, don't talk down to the reader. Don't tell them how smart you are, and just make it clear to them. And I love this little cartoon. Let me see the first one again. Buy it, asshole. Don't be that heavy-handed. So you want to keep in mind what questions are being answered, what your user experience is, and if you follow the sequence particularly, I think you're going to help your user in their experience on your content. You want to be detailed and be thorough, and I know this is about writing, but visuals always help. You want the quality of your writing, your language, your grammar, all of that to be high quality, and you want to make sure that you are providing all the information and the data elements. So let's look at some examples. I think this is going to help. Okay, this is one of my this is one of my red flags. Do not use abbreviations, acronyms, and stuff when you're writing, because within the industry, other people may know these shortcuts, but that doesn't mean that someone who's coming and wants a question answered knows what all these abbreviations mean. And especially, I see people do this all the time. They make up their own little insider acronyms. Don't do it, okay? There we go. So what you really want to do is give an example of overcoming a problem. And you can write things like this in your text, all right? So for example, Seth was struggling with his bounce rate on his site until we redesigned his page and helped him write the introductory content for his landing page. So what this does is it helps your site visitor understand that someone else has a problem similar to theirs, and two, what it is that your business did specifically to help. And I would just give another example. Keith wants to give his girlfriend a beautiful and unique gift, a really one-of-a-kind item. So describe the labor, intensity, and unique material that go into your beaded basket. So I think I've mentioned detail a number of times, but detail is really important once you've introduced them to that key concept. Then give them the details that help make that make sense. So, and use natural language. It helps your site visitor feel emotionally connected to you, rather than feeling distancing. So here's two examples of some dental practices. The Special Dentistry Center registered trademark, and then their acronym focuses on performing smile makeovers and then oral rehabilitation, dental reconstruction for dental phobia patients. Okay, you want to make it clear, and here is Dr. Payette says, here at Smiles by Payette Family Dentistry, we have put together a team of people that we think you're going to love. We know you expect professionalism, empathy, and kindness, and that's what we strive for. So I hope this helps you understand. Talk to those people, talk to your site visitors. If you have all kinds of accreditation, put it in a sidebar, put it at the bottom, but don't make that the first thing they see. The first thing that they see should be answering their question. Oh my gosh, I have to go to the dentist. Everyone is afraid of the dentist. Make it friendly. Okay, and you also want clarity and focus. This is someone I worked with. They were #1 on TripAdvisor for what they do, but they wanted more organic traffic. So we took a look at their descriptions and focused one on how they differentiated themselves with their tours from people climbing on a bus and making sure that everyone understood from the get-go that the tours were private and designed for what they needed. So we have what they had written before and then how we changed to focus right at the beginning on what the big concept was and then work down to the details of the actual tour. So once you're finished writing, don't publish it yet. You want to double check for grammar, spelling, and punctuation. And you can use Grammarly.com to help you with that. You don't want it to be too complicated, and you can check your reading level at HemingwayApp.com. And then for internal relevance, you can use size to help you define all those words, those companion words that help everyone understand. Where are we here? Okay, so structured data is a real plus for helping visitors find your content. It really doesn't have a search engine impact, but it has a lot to do with helping search engines understand what you have in your content and directing people who are making those queries towards your content. So if you want to take a shortcut, first you can go to schema.org and find the way to structure your schema. But also, the Search Console has what they call a data highlighter, and I have here in the picture on your Search Console, you can just go down to data highlighter, put in a particular page, and that will help you just define everything. It really helps if you're not very technical. And then there's Google Developers Structured Data Testing Tool. So those are some tools that you can use to help you with structured data. So you want to mark up articles for headline, images, publish date, and description. And just this past week, I also want to have the author as part of that rich snippet information. But why this is important to you is Google may use your rich snippet markup to power features like in the news or content carousels when people are doing those search queries. And you want, once again, to be as specific and detailed as possible with your schema.org. So just tell is it a blog, is it a news article, is it a video, etc. Okay. And then you want to do some follow-up on what's happening with your content. One way to do that is to use BuzzSumo, who was just here, what was that, 2 days ago, Anton? You can do a quick check on where you are and where your competition is and what's going on with everything. And also that site visitor behavior. If you follow these guidelines that I'm talking about today, you're going to see a difference in how people respond to and stay on your website. This happened with someone a while back where we started implementing these things and their bounce rate went way down. So these are ways that you can check. And I know we have a really international audience here, so I wanted to mention Yandex and Rambler and Yandex Checker and Alchemy API. And there's the schema creator itself and Gruff. So these are all ways that you can help enrich your content and check on it. Okay, so back to the goal. You want to drive people to your website, answer a question, solve a problem, take action, and give them a reason to return. And once again, from Jason Darrell, one visitor conversions without trust are as rare as rocking horse poop. So don't expect someone to come to your site one time and buy your product or engage you for your services. So giving them a reason to return is very, very important. Okay, and then I know Anton freaked out when we were talking the other day, but empathy is really important. You really want to give the sense that you understand what your site visitors are struggling with and how you're going to solve a problem for them, and that you have the answer, the solution to their problem. So Omisido says, it's not about Google, SEO, or indexing. It's about empathy and your customers. Empathy for more customer-focused content marketing. So empathy in this sense means really understanding what your potential customers need. And then Theodora Petkova, if you are interested in content creation, I really highly recommend that you follow Theodora. The most important thing is not the tool, but what's in your heart. And I can't stress that enough, that your business, whether it's drain pipes or tours for travelers or doing SEO for your web clients, is look at how you are different than anyone else. So let's take a look at the benefits. You have targeted viewers. You have answered their questions. They're there because you answered the questions. They stay longer on your website and may visit other pages. You have a lower bounce rate. You have return visits. You have, when they actually come to you to buy your product or services, they are educated and committed customers or clients, and you have a long-term return on your investment. So how do you go about finding a semantic writer, someone who understands what it is to write content in this new age of semantic search? It takes time to know your business. So that person is the first thing they're going to ask you is a lot of questions about your business and a lot of detailed questions. They're going to research your industry and competitors. And I want to say something about that. You know, some people look for content writers who have a long history in, let's say, foreign exchange. But you know, when you're looking for a content writer to help you with your website presence, they can research foreign exchange and still write you, following these guidelines, great content that works for your customers and works for semantic search. So I'm also going to ask you about your current customer base and any desired changes to the demographic. You're going to understand your products or services, and is current on search optimization. And as I said before, things happen, things change so much. You really want to make sure that the writer that you engage for a project really understands and keeps current with what's going on. So it's all about dialogue. It's about what you say, what your customer's question is, and that conversation in the middle. So I think if you always think conversation, initiating a dialogue, that you're going to be on the right track with writing your content. So thank you. Thank you very much. Let's stop sharing here. And
Okay, we lost couple of guys inside the green room. Now we're gonna call it green room, and now and forever. One is
let's take a look at the questions. Okay.
Okay, you go through the questions. Maybe some of them you already done because they were just spot questions and a lot of about tools, as I understood. And you were talking about tools later, so maybe they're already done. Okay, guys who are watching us, shoot your questions. Type it on a web page. So new ones, maybe because
the first question we have here is. The question, the problem a user has remained the same for everybody in your industry, and that is right. Those questions do remain the same. So a couple of things to keep in mind. One is you're not going to resonate with everybody, and it goes back to those quotes from Omisido and Theodora Petkova that the way that you differentiate yourself is actually the way that you write your content. I can't be more specific than that, because if you're putting across your character and your identity, the people that resonate with what you have to offer are going to show up. So that was, oh, okay, let's see. Alex, how you write semantic core for website, what kind of service you use, word statistic like Google Word Stats, which tool you use for check original text for website. Oh, and make sure so you're asking about whether your copywriter didn't steal content, because you don't want that to happen. You're really right. That's very important, because Google search and other search engines are going to penalize you for stealing content from other places. So there are a couple of tools that are online. There are actually a number of plagiarism checkers, and there's one called Copyscape that you can use to check whether your writer has just copied something and pasted it in. That's a very good question, because you don't want to do that. And Amel, thank you for the great tip. I don't know which tip that was, but thank you. And Dennis says, what tools do you use to discover detailed phrases for user intents? You know what, Dennis, I'm going to answer that question. You're going to go back to creating your word banks, your companion words, and size is really a really great tool to help you with that. So let me explain a little more about size conceptual intelligence search engine and what it does. What it does is when you type in a phrase, like detailed phrases, for instance, a size will come up with words that search engines have already identified as being related to your search term. So that is a way it is super, super helpful. So that, to me, is the best way to find those phrases. Alex asks, what is the best way to split on subjects content when themes is relative to one another? I'm not quite sure what that means, Alex, but I'm going back to, I think you're going back in reference to having one topic per your content. So if you have something that is related to something else, one of the best ways that you can do that is to have a separate piece of content that has that other side of what you have to say, and for each of those to have a link to the other one. So you have your internal links. Does that help? So Alex, if you could just let us know if that helps, that would, if I answered your question or not. Are there any more questions?
Are there more questions?
Mel, do you have a question?
Yes, I do have a question actually. All right. So thank you for your presentation. It was really, really great. I learned a few things that I didn't know about, and but I'm more in the technical side in the Google Analytics too. So thank you for that. My question is about the sentiment mining. You were talking about that. So can you elaborate more on this and how can they know the sentiment of the content? Like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean like the sentiment of being positive or negative, or you know what I mean? And how and right now, can we have access to tools that can tell us the sentiment of a content?
You know what? I really don't know of any tools, but what I will do is I will ask some people if they know of any tools. It is especially true with quantum search that is coming because of the speed and accuracy of quantum search. It's able to bring in more information, more data points, as it were, that cluster around whatever that search is, and that sentiment is part of that. I know when, I don't know if you're familiar with a tool that was available and is not available at the moment, Nodex, but they had sentiment as one of those, and it's really just comes, at that point it was coming from comments, how people responded to comments, let's say on Google Plus or on Twitter or on Facebook. Did people agree? Did they not agree? That sort of thing. But I will actually ask some people.
Thanks.
Oh, and then Dennis has a question. So Dennis,
you were talking about some size.
yeah, about size. So hold on a second. Let me see if I can.
I think it's size.
Yeah, it's size. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can.
Size.info, I think you said.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is go to actually the page.
Okay, if you can paste it here, yeah, size info, yeah, and I'll repaste it on the web page.
So it's size.
Yeah, okay, you know how to do it. You just go straight for it. Yeah, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Okay.
Okay, so just a minute.
Okay, guys, do we have more questions?
I have another question, if you don't mind, Zara.
Yeah.
Anton. Okay, so it's about content, obviously, how to write good content, interesting content. So you were talking about, giving kind of a story, like telling a story in your content to introduce whatever answer and concept, or technical or not. So my question to you is it like, would you recommend sometimes or more often to use the the first person when you are writing the content, when you're introducing something and telling a story, or should we avoid that and use more of like this, like you say you and have more of a conversation this way?
That's a really good question, because a lot of people misinterpret telling a story. Um, Telling the story would be like those examples I gave of Seth looking for a basket, or someone looking for SEO. Those are the stories that you want to tell about your business. It isn't, I went to, Dominican University and was the first year of Pacific Basin Studies, Political and Economic Assessment. I was, one of the very first students, and it was the first program in the United States. Nobody cares about that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
What you want to tell is a story about how you solved a problem for somebody else, or what you did with information for your clients. All right.
But what if you did an experiment and you want to share that? Would it be possible to?
Yeah, no, people do that all the time.
Okay.
And then if your business is yourself, it's perfectly okay to use I. This is what I did. But usually when you do an experiment, you're doing that experiment for a client. So you may want to do something like say, super hardware store needed to increase their organic search presence, and we did an experiment. I did an experiment. We did it this way and we did it that way, and what it turned out was we thought B was going to be the answer, but it really turned out to be A. Then that's a great way to tell a story, especially if you're showing that you did that experiment to solve a problem for one of your customers. So if you bring that customer story into your story, it's even better than just saying, hey, I had this great idea and I did an experiment. If you relate it to your site visitors, their experience and what they need, that's going to help a lot. And I see this huge, long question, so let me take a look at it. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, actually, Dijon was
I have a big
in the studio.
Highest engagement I have with content.
His connection was very bad, so he actually sent the question to me. I don't know how close it to semantic writing. I think it's not very close. He just asking an advice on his business position. Yeah, I don't know. Well, if you think it's an interesting question, you can answer it. If not, yeah, well, it's a bit of
Wait,
yeah.
finish the question. It's a really long question.
Yeah, it is a long question, so I'm trying to amuse people whilst you reading it.
Okay.
So, okay, you read it, you don't listen to me. Okay, guys, we have
Dejan, that question is really very, very long, and I would love to help you answer that question and have a discussion about that. And I would love to do maybe, I know your internet connection comes and goes, but maybe we could do a private hangout on Google Plus and just chat about that for a minute, because there are a lot of things to consider. It's a very complicated question.
Okay, Dijan, I'll give you contact to Zara, so contact to Zara, and you will decide what's to do with this long question, which is not exactly about semantic writing. Anyway, okay, guys, I'll check if we do have more questions on our web page. Okay, people. Okay, I have typical question, which is, will we have slides?
Yes. What I'm going to do after the show, I'm going to put it on SlideShare, and then I can share it on the web page.
Okay, if you give me a link, I'll paste it on our web page, so everybody will be able to see where those slides are. Okay, I have another question, and you probably can read it. Please leave how to contact with you. Okay, somebody asked another context. You can actually type it yourself.
Right, and when we're done, I'll put that contact information on the web page.
Which web page?
Yours. Yours.
Okay. So, okay, guys,
We're
just
just
check this our webpage. We have a link to their website, and you can contact her through that. Unless if you wouldn't be able to do it, just send email to me. I will arrange it. Okay, let's have a look if we do have more questions. Okay, so far I guess we don't. Okay, it's kind of like a 1, 2, 3. Do we have a last question of the evening or on the morning? Depends where you are. Do we have more questions? No questions. Okay, Farah, thank you very much. Was very, very interesting. Awesome, awesome. I use awesome for Americans and brilliant for British. Awesome webinars tonight. So I hope we will see you again here one day with some new stuff, new materials, something new. Thank you very much, Amal, for your
My
help.
pleasure.
You're always very, very helpful and nice. And I hope, Amal, we will see you as well
Yeah.
very soon with new webinar. Okay, I don't know
For
when.
January.
January. If
Yes.
January, you have to provide information to me
January.
I will.
quickly because January is almost full. In
Okay.
January, 20th of January, we will have a very interesting show right here where Google will be answering questions to three very, very big people. I don't know how they will manage to get into this room. Bill Slavsky, Armand Jones, and Eric Ench will be here against Google or together with Google Andrei Lipasev, senior strategist from
Wow,
Google.
that's a
Nice.
powerful.
That's nice.
Okay, it's 20th of January, but you can check it on our website. Monday we will have extremely difficult webinar from today. Today was not technical, and we will have Alan Weiss, SEO specialist for I don't know 20 years, more than the internet existed, and it will be very, 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 very technical stuff. Amel, you're welcome
Thank you.
if you want to. So technical stuff, advanced SEO.
I
So
love that.
he will be putting, I guess it's not dots, it's going to be commas and all this little signs. Okay, and we have plenty of stuff. Thank you very much, Zara. Thank you for your time, and thank you everybody, Amel, and everybody who was with us tonight,
Thank you.
or it was morning.
And thank you for
Bye-bye.
great questions.
A pleasure.
Thank you and goodbye, guys.
Bye.